Ashley Bullington, and you're watching the fifth quarter. It's our Friday Night Wrap-Up Show. We bring you all the high school sports action from around the greater Houston area. We had some big district matchups this week, and Inside High School Sports Insider Matt Harris is on to talk to us about them. Matt, another big week of Houston high school basketball. That 21-6A district, though, had two big time games this week. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, 21-6A has been one of the better districts in the state this year, especially in 6A. Um, they've got the number eight, or at least as of this week, the number 8 and 9 ranked teams in the state in Beaumont United and Galena Park North Shore. And the North Shore last week struggled to grind out I believe, a 3-point win and a 1-point win over Beaumont, Westbrook, and Deer Park, who played a great game on Tuesday. Westbrook took down Deer Park 45-44, and then Beaumont United got the best in North Shore, coming out with a 43-40 win. So two great games in that district on Tuesday. Those are four teams to really keep an eye on, because just in terms of top to bottom talent, I would say I would put 21-6A up against any district and say R4 collectively is better than your four against any district, probably in the state, or at least in 6A. So obviously, Beaumont United and North Shore are going to be candidates to potentially make a deep run to state. North Shore got to state last year, and then Westbrook and Deer Park are two teams that you look at and say, well, they'll be matching up with the 1 and 2 seeds from another district, and they could make some noise in the playoffs as well because they've both been very good this season and battle tested against two state ranked teams where they almost came out with wins in those games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Westbrook or Deer Park make a run in the playoffs as well.
And then another close district race, and one that you said had great games throughout the entire district was that 15-6A district. I feel
Yeah,
like we talk about that one in football, we talk about it in basketball. It's just a good district all around.
for sure. Yeah, Tuesday night. So get this: College Park beats Klein Collins by 10. The Woodlands beats Klein Oak by 3. Conroe beats Klein Kane by 4, and Klein Forest takes down Oak Ridge by 6. So that's four games where your largest margin of victory was actually I read the first one wrong. College Park beat Klein Collins by 8. So largest margin of victory in that district on Tuesday night was 8 points. So I think that any given night, any team in that district can beat anyone else. It's almost the opposite of it's the same but opposite of 21-6A in terms of I don't think that these are teams that are super talented or could surprise people or necessarily going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But all of these teams can compete, and they're all in the relative same talent range as you saw in 21-6A where you had two great games decided by 1 point and by 3 points, and where that's something that you see week in and week out in that district. 15-6A, it's the same thing. You're getting 4 point wins or 5 or 6 or 8, but it's usually no more than 8 to 10 points margin of victory in 15-6A.
Most definitely. And then another boys team that you and I feel like we talk about all the time. We see them at state almost every year, but it's that Yates team in 4A, and they had another 100-point game closing in on that national record, which they set.
Yeah, they set that record back in 2009. They scored 100 points or more in 15 straight games. Their current streak, I believe, is that it's either 8 or 9. I can't remember. But with a win over Worthing, 105-37 on Tuesday night, that streak of 100 plus points has reached 8 or 9 games. So they're only a few away from breaking their own record.
And then in girls basketball, Side Creek is still undefeated.
Yeah, Cy Creek at this point in the year, it's kind of crazy to be undefeated. I mean, they're 29-0, 10-0 in district. They're ranked seventh in the state somehow, but 35th in the nation. So there's a ton of great girls hoops in Texas, and they've taken advantage a little bit of an easier district, a little bit easier of a schedule. You look at teams like obviously this is 5A, but Shadow Creek and Madison and Hightower, like a lot of those girls teams had. I mean, Hightower had 3 girls nominated for the McDonald's All American game, which we'll get to in a second. But um, Yeah, Cy Creek's been really impressive this season. They beat Stratford over back in December, 101-14. So that just kind of shows you the firepower that this team has. But then they went up and played in a tournament in Arlington and beat Mansfield Timberview 71-60 in overtime. So this is a team that's been tested a little bit, but most of the games do end in blowouts. So it'll be interesting to see come playoff time how they handle that, having not really been tested a whole lot. They have in a few games, but I would expect this team to make a deep run, probably go to state, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee to win the state championship.
So the last thing I want to talk about is that the McDonald's All-American game is coming to Houston. It's no longer going to be, or this year is not going to be in Chicago like it's been in past years. It's coming to the great Lone Star State. What are your thoughts on that?
It's really kind of crazy. It's been in Chicago for the last 7 or 8 years, and it's bounced around a little bit, but I don't believe it's ever been to Houston. I don't believe it's ever been to Texas. And they decided, for whatever reason, to move off of Chicago, which they've been there for almost a decade playing that game at the United Center in Chicago. And they decided, well, where are we going to move it? They choose Houston. So I think that says a lot about just the hoop scene down in Houston and how it's grown in recent years. You look at the talent that the Houston area puts out, and it's great every year. And then you've got guys like James Harden show up at the best high school game of the week occasionally. I mean, he showed up at a Hightower and Shadow Creek boys hoops a couple weeks ago. So it really says a lot about the Houston area and how much the hoop scene has grown. And I think it's really cool that McDonald's chose to have the game in Houston this year. But unfortunately, no Hoopers from the Houston area were chosen to play in the boys or girls game. The boys had four nominated, most notably LJ Cryer and Tremont Mark, who are both top 100 recruits. But McDonald's really takes the cream of the crop as the most prestigious high school all-star game, usually selecting the top 20. So they didn't make it. The girls had several great candidates as well, but none were chosen. So there's a little Texas talent. Greg Brown from Austin and Kate Cunningham, who plays his high school ball in Florida but is from Arlington, will both be in the boys game. And I know DFW area has a few girls playing in the girls McDonald's All-American game this year as well.
Matt, thank you, like always, for your great analysis of the high school sports action from around the greater Houston area. Up next, we talk to the Cy Ranch girls head coach about her team's performance this season.
Don't forget to catch our extended coverage of the high school football season each week on The Warm-Up, presented by your local Houston area Geico agents. We will get you ready for all the action this Thursday on all our social media outlets.
Cy Ranch girls coach Megan Daniel has put together quite a team this season. And as they're getting into the second time playing all the district foes, we caught up with her after their last game to talk to her about her team's performance so far this season.
I think team basketball, I'm proud of the girls. They were able to stay together as a team. I think that, we've had a lot of success here, but they're a great opponent. They're coached well. They knew they had to be prepared. They knew they had to be ready. And I think the biggest thing that, kind of they overcame adversity today and they stayed together as a team. I think that's what pushed them through to the end.
How do you think this win affects the race for the district title?
I think, the biggest thing is staying focused. It's just a game. I told them to celebrate it, for a little bit, then we got to get refocused. I think, the way that we played today was definitely playoff-ready basketball. So I think the biggest thing is taking this game and really preparing for every other opponent the same exact way, the same mentality that they had today, bringing into this game. They have to keep, that same mentality for the rest of the district.
How do you feel about your teams heading into the stretch?
I think, we have a lot of seniors in this group. We have a lot of leaders in this group. And I think, our motto this year is, watch it happen or make it happen. And lately they've been doing a whole lot of making it happen. So I think, if they take that and they carry that through the playoffs, they'll be successful.
Okay, and how good do you think this team can ultimately be?
I think they can be as good as they want to be. Honestly, I think that if they stay together and they play together and they're focused, I think that their eyes are on San Antonio. And, I think that if they do what they're supposed to do and really, have that mentality of if we're going to fight till the end, all 32 minutes, I think they can make it there.
Thank you so much, Coach Daniel, for coming on the fifth quarter with us. Up next, we have the producer of Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports, Robert Sheik, to talk to us about what will be on the show tomorrow.
Watch Inside High School Sports to catch this week's Chevy Spotlight, brought to you by your Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive their award-winning products.
Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports is on tomorrow night at 11 p.m. on KHU 11, and we have Robert Sheik, the producer, joining us here on the fifth quarter to talk about what you'll be seeing. So, Robert, what's coming up this week on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports?
Well, let's start with our game of the week. Bel Air and Lamar, a nice HISD showdown at Butler Fieldhouse. Bel Air wins at 59-45. Close game most of the way, though, and Bel Air pulls away at the end. Both of those teams came into the game undefeated and tied for first place in the district standings. So Bel Air now with with the advantage and, going into the second half of district play, that kind of wraps up. And a lot of the districts across the area, I should say, too, wrapped up the first half, at least on the boys' side, wrapped up the first half of district play. And now everybody will play each other again on the other team's home court. So that was a big one. Another big one, same situation where you had two teams tied atop the district standings and both undefeated tonight, Fort Bend Bush and Fort Bend Travis. And Fort Bend Travis, 34 points behind from last week's bobblehead winner, Justin Hill. And, if we could give him a bobblehead 2 weeks in a row, he might have earned it tonight. We can't do that, but great performance by Justin Hill and the Tigers. Travis wins at 63-53.
We can totally give kudos, though, Robert.
Yes, absolutely. Kudos. We can give shout-outs or shouts out if you want to be a grammar nerd like I am sometimes. But anyway, big effort from Travis. And, we saw this from the Tigers in football season, and some of these same guys are on this basketball team. And, Travis definitely has the step up, kind of sitting in the catbird seat right now to win the district title in Fort Bend ISD there. So that was another good one tonight. A lot more coming up on the show. We had a lot of Tuesday games, even a Wednesday night game, Madison and Waltrip. A nice showdown Wednesday night in Class 5A and HISD. Madison wins that. A lot of fun highlights in that. A lot of dunks from Madison. Madhouse was doing its thing. Let's see. There was a big game Tuesday night. Shadow Creek and Manville in Class 5A. We'll have highlights of that. Shadow Creek squeaks past Manville in that one. So, and that's interesting. Both Alvin ISD schools. Shadow Creek kind of taking away a lot of students from Manville High School. What used to be the Manville territory, and so that's kind of a little budding rivalry, even though Shadow Creek's moving up to 6A next year, and they haven't played in football yet, but it's definitely been a good little rivalry on the basketball court, and Manville almost pulled the upset on Tuesday night, but Shadow Creek held on. Let's see what else here. Jersey Village Cy Creek was a really good game on Tuesday night in Class 6A. Cy Creek hung on to win that one. And a couple good girls games on Tuesday night. Cy Ranch with a big win over Langham Creek, and that just about secures the district title for Cy Ranch. And I think you had some comments from Cy Ranch's coach earlier here in the fifth quarter, and
yes, sir.
That's always such a strong program, and Cy Ranch is rolling again, and may well run the table in district play, and we'll be looking good heading into the Region 2 playoffs. And that's a situation, that's a team definitely worth keeping your eye on, because we've talked a lot about how loaded the girls side is in Region 3, where you have Summer Creek, who made it to state last year, Cy Creek, who made it to state 2 years ago, Atascocita is really good. All those teams have a lot of Division I caliber players, and if you watched our recruiting trail today, you heard from Kendall Hunter from Cy Creek. A lot of superstars in Region 3. Region 2, now, Cy Ranch has definitely, I think, set itself apart from the rest of the region from the Houston area side of Region 2. But Region 2 also includes the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I'll be honest, I don't know enough to know just how loaded Region 2 is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it is unfortunate that that regional is played in Dallas. So kind of a little home court advantage, if you will, when you get to the region semifinals and regional finals. And it's been tough for Houston schools going up to Dallas in that Region 2 tournament the last few years, both boys and girls. Although last year we did see the Klein Forest boys go up to Dallas and win that region tournament, get to state. And Klein Forest very nearly won a state championship last year on the boys' side. But that's a long way of saying definitely keep an eye on this Cy Ranch girls team. That's definitely worth one to keep an eye on. We also had we'll have highlights from Clear Springs and Clear Falls on the girls' side. And then our Chevy Spotlight, the Brazos Wood girls soccer team. I know, Ashley, you know a thing or two about girls soccer. You played it for a few years from what I hear. So that's one of the better programs down in the Houston area.
We'll have to go check out a game sometime down there.
Absolutely.
And then don't we have some Adam Coleman coming up too?
Yeah, Adam Coleman stops by, and he will join us to break down, kind of the area hoop scene and kind of give his thoughts on, some of his favorite district races. We'll kind of talk about, now that we've kind of reached that midway point in the year, you can really kind of start to see some of these races shaping up and how they're going to shake out, and the one, we talked about it all throughout football season, and it's funny. It seems like it's kind of becoming, the wild card district again, if you will, in basketball season, and it's 15-6A. Everybody has at least one loss. There's so much parity. Any number of probably 6 teams are fighting, have very, very good chances of making the playoffs and even winning the district title. But so you at this point, we're halfway through it, and you really don't have much of a clue who's going to win district, who's going to get into the playoffs, who's going to miss out. There's a lot of good teams, a lot of talented, a lot of parity. They're kind of at that same competitive level. College Park beat the Woodlands in our game of the week last week. Those are 2 teams near the top. Klein's near the top. We haven't had Klein on the show yet. That's going to come soon, folks. Bearcat Nation with a K. Love my peeps in Klein. Klein Forest obviously almost won a state title last year. That's a program you're always gonna have your eyes on. So a very loaded district. That's a fun one. There's so many good districts. A lot of competitive basketball going on right now in the greater Houston area.
Thank you so much, Robert. Once again, Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports is on Saturday night at 11 p.m. on KHU 11, where you can see all of the highlights and more from around the greater Houston area. Until then, I'm Ashley Bullington, and thank you so much for watching the 5th quarter.